Hey everyone, talking about 5 great fragrances that are over 100 years old. So these are not in order of best to worst or vice versa, but they are in order from oldest to newest. So let's kick this off. The first is 4711 Cologne. This was released in 1792. And I feel like the scent profile for it is actually really still popular today, completely holds up, which is kind of crazy and shocking given that sometimes something that's even, 15 years old can feel really dated. So very impressive. The notes in this are lemon, bergamot, orange, rosemary, lavender, neroli, and petitgrain. Oh, it's just beautiful. So I love how it's really, really citrusy, but it does not go into cleaning spray territory, at least not for me, which is not easy to do with that many citrus notes. And I can't believe how good this is for the price too. It's an incredible deal. I've smelled scents that, to me, smell very similar to this that are literally 20 or more times the price. And I wouldn't guess that this was priced in the cheapy category if I did not know. Beautiful, bright, fresh, tangy, astringent citrus that just feels like summer day in a bottle. You can keep this in the fridge to make it even more refreshing to use. It costs $10 for a 100 milliliter on FragranceNet. Yes, $10. And this is not 100 ml, this is way smaller than that. But I didn't want a full one. I like just having the little bottle to kind of spritz this on casually. The one thing I will say about this, it has no longevity. Like, out of any scent I've ever tried, this has the lowest longevity ever, but I actually like having something like that because sometimes you want to wear something else soon, but you just want to kind of throw something else in the meantime. I love that I can just put this on and in 20 minutes it's going to be gone and I can just put on something else, because as long as I go into it knowing that, and that this isn't something that I'm wearing for anyone else, this is just when I want a nice, bright, fresh kick of citrus and energy. Just beautiful. I don't even normally like lavender in wearable fragrances. I like it in like relaxing pillow sprays or whatever, but wearable I'm not a fan usually, but the way it's done here really just blends in so nicely, and I can't say enough good things about this. It's very rare for me to want to have a bottle of anything. This made the cut for me, and I've tried so many neroli fragrances, including ones that, were like 400 plus for this size probably, honestly. I'll put a link to that where you can get a sample or bottle. The next one up is Jean-Marie Farina Extra Vieille Roger and Gallet. And Roger and Gallet is the fragrance house. This was released in 1806. The notes in it are bergamot, lemon, neroli, petitgrain, rosemary, myrtle, sandalwood, cedarwood, vetiver, musk, and white amber. I love how outdoorsy and fresh this smells during some phases of it. It's bright and sunny. You're in an area surrounded by trees, flowers, and other plants while drinking a glass of orange juice, and that's the opening to me. It doesn't smell that much like 4711 to me, despite having somewhat of a similar scent profile when you look at the notes. That 4711 has more of like a neroli, petitgrain, orange blossomy type of smell, but this one's really nice still. It's very unisex. It leans mature, but not in a dated or elderly way, just kind of like a little bit refined. And this costs $80 for a 200 ml. I'm sure you could get a 100 ml somewhere for pretty cheap. The main places I see are usually selling 200 mls, so I'll put a link to that, but Google it if you want to find a different one. Number 3, we've got Guerlain Cuir de Russie, and this was released just over 100 years ago, I believe. This has labdanum, amber, iris, and civet, as well as thyme, rosemary, birch, benzoin, styrax, oakmoss, amber, musk, vetiver, and resins. So for me, labdanum, amber, iris, and civet come out the most, and of course a very leather-like accord. Cuir de Russie means Russian leather. I don't think I'd like it so much if I hadn't gotten more used to a lot of these kind of old school scents. Old school like powdery, animalic royalty type of scents, but I really like it now. It's not my type of fragrance to wear for the aforementioned reason, but I really appreciate the vivid richness of the violet, kind of, which is iris, but violet-y kind of like leather vibe in this. It reminds me of Le Jardin Retrouve Cuir de Russie, same name, which is my favorite fragrance called Cuir de Russie, and I say that because there's so many different ones with that name, from the Guerlain, Chanel, that one, so many other ones. But yeah, and this reminds me of a tiny bit of Chanel Le Lion during part of the way to the dry down, so this has kind of a lot of fun stuff going on. I could see how it might come across as gross today to some people, or like to wear in a general crowd, but I personally find it intoxicating. It's more just that I think if I was smelling this with a nose that was used to just, you know, designer fragrances and cheapies and stuff like that, this might feel a bit harsh. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. It's just, I sometimes wish that I could smell things like that and think like, okay, is this going to offend anybody in public? But now I've smelled too many things that my nose is thinking of it in a different way. But yeah, I think that it's just really nice and interesting to try. It's really expensive to try to find a vintage bottle, but I'm going to link where you can get a sample in a decant, even up to like 5 ml sizes. So if you do want to check it out, it's not still made today. These are all like vintage versions, but the one that I tried still smells very fresh. It didn't turn or anything like that. So the next one up, I'm sure everyone has heard of this fragrance house, Acqua di Parma, Colonia. The release date is 1916. Top notes: lemon, sweet orange, Calabrian bergamot. In mid, we've got lavender, Bulgarian rose, verbena, and rosemary. And in the base, vetiver, sandalwood, and patchouli. So this is a classic neroli aromatic type of scent that, despite being, as with the theme, 100 plus years old, to me it doesn't feel dated or like it would only be associated with people over a certain age. It reminds me a lot of 4711, especially in the opening, which I love. So refreshing on a hot day, yet very refined at the same time with this one. The dry down's really soapy, which I'm not as big a fan of, but still nice, very classy. And again, it's not that it's done soapy in a bad way, I'm just not a soapy wearer type of person. And this goes for $85 for 100 ml on FragranceNet after their discount codes. And last, we've got 10 by Knize. This came out in the 1920s. The notes in it are lemon, bergamot, orange, petitgrain, rosemary, geranium, rose, cedar, orris, carnation, cinnamon, orange blossom, sandalwood, leather, musk, moss, patchouli, ambergris, castoreum, and vanilla. So a lot going on there. And you probably have noticed that a lot of these have similar types of notes. Obviously, trends change over time, because you could really say the same thing today about a lot of ones in certain categories, like the Havina and Broxin and Musk and this and that, and just kind of like a lot of the same ones that are really popular in the same ways. But these don't smell exactly alike overall. I know I've been comparing some of them to 4711, but yeah, maybe this is just my taste, also what I've gravitated towards of trying for the older ones. But on me, the opening of 10 Knize is like 4711, but with a hefty dose of rubbery leather. To me, it smells like a bouncy ball from one of those machines for kids on a freshly mopped floor. So that might not sound like a good thing. To me, I mean it as a compliment. Maybe because it has like a nostalgic feel to me from being a kid and getting those bouncy balls. And it does smell like an old school scent profile, but in a way I think actually completely works today. It's really well blended, fresh, sweet, leathery, animalic, floral, and more. It leans masculine in a classic way, but it could also smell like a more modern unisex niche. A lot of what's changed in niche and whatnot has been, you know, there's things that would have been considered feminine or masculine at some point, and to me there's plenty of unisex marketed stuff that smells like this today. This goes for $80 for a 50 ml or $125 for a 125 ml. And it is just, yeah, if you want that kind of like neroli-ish but with like really rubbery leather, highly recommend it. I really enjoy smelling that one. So that's the top 5. I'm going to just throw in a bonus mention, of course, of Shalimar here, the Eau de Toilette original by Guerlain. I avoided trying that for a little bit because I thought, the way people talk about it, and I'm not a fan of, say, Chanel No. 5, and I thought it was just going to kind of smell like that, but there's something really captivating about, like, smoky yet sweet, and just, like, ambery and leathery almost at parts at the same time. So if you somehow haven't smelled Shalimar yet, please do. Just if you're into fragrance, it's great to have that reference, and it's definitely interesting whether you like it or not. So if you have any favorite fragrances that are 100 plus years old, let me know in the comments. But other than that, I'd recommend checking these out, even just from a historical perspective, but especially if you think the notes sound good to you.